Hello, my name is Summer Bryant, and I'm going to talk about workers' perception of job control and how it relates to low back pain. Millions of workers throughout the world suffer from back pain at some point in their working life. I was interested to learn more about the psychosocial factors that contribute to or help alleviate back pain. Therefore, I chose this topic for the presentation. Most adults, as I said, experience low back pain at some point in their life. The pain can become chronic, lead to disability, and increase healthcare costs to individuals and companies. Urquhart et al. In 2013 told us that low back pain is the most common reason for absenteeism in the workplace. Lifetime incidence of low back pain in American adults varies from 49 to 70%, and that's from Garg et al. In 2013. Low back pain costs range from 50 to $90 billion annually, and that's only in the United States, based on research from Yang et al. In 2016. And Oy, Brooks, Blythe, and Bookbinder in 2010 identified additional impacts to individuals who experience low back pain, and those include activity burden, activity limitations, career burden, and a higher use of healthcare resources. There are a myriad of risk factors which cause workers to be exposed to low back pain. There is a growing body of research studying not only the physical factors that lead to back pain in the workplace, but also the psychosocial factors that contribute to it. More than 100 risk factors are out there in the literature that contribute to low back pain, and those have been identified by Strude and Tynes in 2016. Research shows strong evidence that psychosocial issues may increase the risk of low back pain development, and that is a study done by Matsudaria et al. From 2012, which will also examine that study further in this presentation. Job control is considered a psychosocial factor in the development of low back pain in the workplace, and other psychosocial risk factors include interpersonal stress, workload, monotonous work, and job satisfaction. Research has also shown us a relationship between a low level of job control and low back pain, and that's from Stewart and Tynes from 2016. They mean by that if a worker has more control over how they do their job and what tasks they're performing and when they can take breaks or how they may stand or sit or whatever to do their role or within their role, that they can help control their back pain. And then workers who feel more in control of tasks at work are less likely to experience low back pain, and that is from Van Vuren et al. In 2007. The three studies that I examined for this presentation are listed in this table, and it gives a summary of each one of those. The first study, all studies you may notice were published in the last 4 years. The first study was published in December of 2013. And was titled Are Psychosocial Factors Associated with Low Back Pain and Work Absence for Low Back Pain in an Occupational Cohort. That was a cross-sectional study. It included 1,111 nurses working in major metropolitan hospitals in Victoria, Australia. The second study was by Stroyd and Tynes in 2013, Work-Related Psychosocial and Mechanical Risk Factors for Low Back Pain, a 3-year follow-up study of the general working population in Norway. This was a prospective cohort study, and it was a random cohort of 9,371 people drawn from the general population of Norway. And then the third study was done in Japan by Matsudaria et al. In 2012. Potential Risk Factors for New Onset of Back Pain Disability in Japanese Workers was that title. And it was also a prospective cohort study and included 3,194 participants recruited from 16 workplaces around the Tokyo area. All exposures for each study were low back pain. The first and third studies used survey questionnaires to gain their data, and the second study researchers conducted personal interviews at 2 different time periods. The outcome for all 3 studies was job control, and the outcome measures are listed at the bottom. The study results are further summarized in the table that you see in this slide. All studies show a moderate association between workers' perception of low job control and the development of low back pain. Study 1 examined the relationship between individual and work-related psychosocial factors that may contribute to the development of low back pain and result in time away from work in a cohort of working nurses. The study compared univariate and multivariate odds ratios, which were 1.52 and 1.84 respectively, and they were both moderately significant based on their 95% confidence intervals. While low job control was statistically linked to low back pain development, it was not as significant as other psychosocial factors in the study. Negative beliefs about back pain, low job security, and low job satisfaction were more significant in this particular study. A strength of the study included the use of validated questionnaires to investigate individual and work-related psychosocial factors. And a weakness of the study is that it did not measure physical factors related to low back pain, as this population of nurses was not recruited based on back pain alone, but the study was measuring other parts of what they do as well. Study 2 examined the impact of work-related psychosocial and mechanical or physical exposure related to the development of low back pain in the general working population. You might remember this one was done in Norway. The most significant psychosocial factors in workers developing low back pain were high job demands and low job control. So I didn't put this on the table that you see in front of you, but I wanted to mention that in addition to the odds ratio calculations, which were statistically significant, the study provided a population attributable risk from the statistically significant odds ratios, showing that low job control was strongly associated with low back pain development, with that PAR being 7.18 with a confidence interval of 2.28 to 12.15. Strengths of this study included the large random sample and the prospective design. A potential weakness in the participant group of this survey of this study is that the workers most vulnerable to back pain may have already left their jobs and would not have been included in the study cohort. Study 3 examined the association between new onset low back pain with disability and the potential risk factors among initially symptom-free Japanese workers. This study showed the greatest association of the three studies based on the odds-adjusted ratio of 2.20 compared to the crude odds ratio of 2.03, which meant that low job control was statistically significant as a risk factor in developing low back pain. Limitations of this study included a small number of female participants, and like study 2, this study may have excluded workers who had already left the workforce due to low back pain or disabilities. This study was kind of interesting since it was done in Japan, but the results were similar to those in Western countries, which the authors mentioned was a surprise to them because they believed that the cultural differences would lead to different psychosocial risk factors, but they were very similar to what was found in Western countries. When using Henneken's criteria to examine the research, all the studies provide statistically significant results based on change. All of the studies contain selection and recall bias since all studies use surveys for data collection. Studies 2 and 3 also contained reporting bias. Confounding was controlled in all of the studies. As you can see, in all three studies, age and gender were controlled. Study 1 also controlled for BMI and work-related psychosocial factors. Study 2 controlled for education, occupation, and psychological distress in addition to age and gender. And the last study also controlled for previous episodes of low back pain. Studies 1 and 3 showed a moderate association based on odds ratios, and study 2 had a moderate association in year 1 and a weak association in year 3. All studies contain biologic plausibility and consistency. Temporality was not present in study 1 due to the cross-sectional design, but was present in study 2 and 3. Dose response was present in all three studies, but which makes sense because all of the workers were exposed to potential risk factors for low back pain. In conclusion, workers' perception of low job control is associated with low back pain. Higher levels of job control have been correlated as a protective factor in reducing low back pain in some studies, and that was cited by Van Buren et al. In 2007. Additional research is needed to study psychosocial risk factors and the development of low back pain, and since there are already validated questionnaires used by the authors of Study 1 to measure workplace psychosocial risk factors, companies could use these or refine them as needed to measure low back pain in their worker population. It would be important for individual countries or industries to conduct this research, as psychosocial risk factors could vary by job type and location. Predicting the development of low back pain in the workplace would be very important to assisting leaders in developing interventions that would prevent low back pain and thus decreasing the costs associated with low back pain, which would be monetary as well as health related to workers and companies. I find it very interesting that all three of these studies were done in different countries outside of the United States, Norway, Australia, and Japan, and I think that they very much mirror the same information and outcomes that we would find in the United States, showing that this is a worldwide problem that we as healthcare leaders need to work on and fix for our those that we lead. This is a list of the references I used for this presentation, and I thank you for your time.